kan bisa diputarkan oleh co-hostnya ya.
Ya.
Ya, oke, nggih.
Mbak. Terima kasih.
Ya. Oke, baik. Ini mungkin sudah bisa kita mulai ya. Oke. Good afternoon, everyone. So how are you? I hope everybody's healthy, happy, and we're going to start this very interesting discussion. And okay, I will just start now, maybe because all the presenters are here, and to just quickly we start the discussion. Okay. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Ibu, Bapak, Mbak, Mas, semuanya, and also presenters and audience members. It is an honor for me to have been given the opportunity to host this session today, that is Performing and Visual Art Studies. The session later will be divided into two sections. The first part, there will be 4 presenters who are going to present the very interesting topics. And then next, in the latter part, the second part, we are going to have discussion session. And later on, I'd like to invite questions and also comments from the audience members. It seems that we have plenty of time, for 120 minutes, and there are only 4 presenters. So I think each of the presenter will have quite a generous time, But I think 15 to 20 minutes presentation, I think it's enough. And then later we'll move on to the second part for the discussion. According to the rundown that I have received, the order of the presentation is as follows. First, we are going to listen to Mbak Amelia Rugun Sirait. And then the second will be from Mbak Ira Adriati. And then the third will be from Mas Rudi Wiratama. And the last but not least from Mbak Arinta Agustina. And the audience members can type their questions or comments in the chat menu during the presentation, or later you can also raise hand and deliver your own questions directly. And without further ado, I'd like to invite the first speaker, Amelia Rugun Sirait from Laras Studies of Music in Society, who will today speak on the topic of celebrating the audience playing around interactivity and online performances in INF 2020 and 2021. So please, Mbak Rugun, time is yours. And the time is 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mawiwi. First of all, I would like to begin by sharing my presentation, and I would like to check whether my sound now is it's hearable. It's safe. Okay.
Yes,
I'd like
perfect.
to share my presentation. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm incredibly happy to be in this panel together with Mbak Ira, Mbak Arinta, Mas Rudi. It's a pleasure to meet you all. It's also a pleasure of mine to be moderated by my lecturer, Mbak Wiwi. I graduated anthropology, cultural anthropology last year from Universitas Gadjah Mada. And now I currently work with Laras Studies of Music and Society and Festival Film Dokumenter in Yogyakarta, while working full-time at Salihara Art Center. So my presentation today will be about this music and game platform that happened in 2020. My presentation will be about celebrating the audience, playing around interactivity and online performance in INF In-Game Club. So what is this In-Game Club? This platform called Swagbo is if I can share the video right here, is an online game that is openable through Google Chrome or any such web browser. That is able for avatar playing, small avatars, and sharing chit chats, making these rooms as a staged performance. I'd first like to begin with the organizers of the event. The organizers of the event I would like to talk about is the Indonesia Net Audio Forum. They were founded in 2011, formerly known as the Indonesia Net Label Union. It's a union of Indonesian musical labels. That is a platform for archiving, organizing digital sound art in Indonesia. They usually held festivals offline, previously in 2012, 2014, and 2018 in Bandung or in Yogyakarta. Nuraini Juliastuti once wrote in her article in 2018 that the organization of the festival is intended for a kopi darat, since a lot of the relationship in this ENF is very online. They want to make an offline meeting of each event. They are open for the sharing culture and also the accessibility of music through file sharing, radio workshop, film screening, and merchandise sale. And they have chosen the platform Swagbo. It was derivative, or in other words, it's a hacked product of a Habbo Hotel. Habbo Hotel is an online community-based game that is aimed at teens and young adults. It was quite popular in Europe in the early 2000s. And the Swagbo, it's written without an A, is initiated by a Finnish music collective called Swag in April 2020. It was during the early pandemic times where it was very restricted in Finland, also in Indonesia, to held gatherings, especially music gatherings, that is very really not healthy for the safety protocols. And in this product that I have just shown you, users can use the Isolation Club facility, which is a virtual space for players to meet each other while enjoying music played in the background of the club, and it can be easily opened through browser with a Flash Player plugin. As we know, the Flash Player plugin has stopped its use in December 2020, by the end of December 2020. So sadly, this platform is not to be able to be used again. So there are two events in 2020 that use the Swagbo platform by ENF. It's both called the ENF Game Club, the In-Game Club, and the In-Game Club 2.0. The In-Game Club was first held in 10th of September 2020. It had 3 venues. The venues were shaped as the virtual rooms that I showed before. So there were 3 different kind of rooms. They were called the stages or the venues. It is the ENF Garden, with 5 performers, the ENF Discotheque with also as much, and the After Party Perky Chamber. It was an event held from 6 p.m. Jakarta time up till 3 a.m. Jakarta time. So it was a really long time of 15 performers. It had open donation and shared publicly about solidarity markets. So anyone can promote their works and markets there. And on the second ENF, they have learned a lot from the first one, since it was a really long show with a lot of performers. There were about 300 people small avatars who came into these events. It made the game overcrowded and had an issue with the server. It was down for 30 till 60 minutes. They had to fix with the server in Finland. So they made the in-game club 2.0 with a restricted 115 user. So there can be no more than 115. So there won't be the same lag anymore. It was held on the 22nd of December 2020 with only 10 performers in 2 stages. And from 7 p.m. up until 12 a.m. Interestingly, both of the events had a live MC or live host that would greet everyone who came into the event, held quizzes, and shared information. So what kind of method did I use to do this research? I used virtual world ethnography. It was made popular by Tom Bulstorff and Sarah Fink, and both of their different books in 2012. Includes participant observation, includes interviewing, sharing a short survey, taking screenshots, and also taking notes on what happened. So at the first event in September 10th, I took part in being part of the audience. Here is a video of Rabu, a folk band performing. It's a folk band from Yogyakarta. So this band, they also performed themselves on stage as if they were singing, they were playing guitar, playing the drums, and even the singer right here is writing the lyrics of the song and making this game quite interactive to the other people who came into the event. They can answer and they can show respect. Here, the vocalist was respected. They can write salute, and even the vocalist can share information, who made the chords and such. And the small people, small avatars in front of the stage are dancing or moving around. It was the ability of the game that provides such movements. I was a part of the audience in a flying turtle with the green turban. And yeah, people were yay, people were writing chit-chat bubbles during the performance. Although all of this music performance were all pre-recorded. So all of these pre-recorded performance were done as they were live, done in this game. So that was my observation part. And during the participation part, I took part in performing in In-Game Club 2.0 as Princess Xiaomi. Princess Xiaomi is a DJ duo, formerly a trio. It's an all-girls group. We play popular music in the 2000s, such as Britney Spears, Pussycat Dolls, MIA, and bringing girl power songs. So maybe I could just skip. In this part, we can hear the host greeting, and although the screen record isn't as smooth as the first one, the chat bubbles are very active. The people who came to the event are very participative on like talking to each other, talking to the performers, and even the performers had to stay in front of a DJ deck right here. We had to act as if that we were playing. That were told by the ENF organizers that we had to be there during our performance, although that we have shared the file before. So sometimes I would also share the title of the song and also dance along with the people who are in this dance floor. Besides that, I also did some interviews with people who came to the event. They shared that coming to the in-game club gave the same joy of coming to an offline gig, comparing that at that time we could not come into an offline gig at all. There is a sense of entering the room and to be seen by other users, since the point of view of us, the users and game players, are a third eye person from up high, so we can see everyone who is in the room with their usernames, and also from the pop chat. When I asked them about what is most memorable during the in-game club, they really enjoyed the time spent together in one space, but did not focus on the performances of the performers. It is the feature of the Swagbo, the chatting, and the interacting with the other users and avatars that made it memorable. So how does the in-game club create a celebration of the audience? As in a short survey I shared to some people who came to the event, 8 of people responded that they enjoyed the in-game club. And especially 6 of them are really keen about the chat feature when I asked them the most memorable thing about the Swagbo as a platform. The chit chats done in the platform were really day-to-day conversations on asking like, how are you, greeting people when I see a username I'm familiar with. But although we know that in this platform, there were some people who came in anonymously. There were users who came into the event with weird usernames, and we have no idea who they were. But with this anonymity, they shared really funny chats and really different kind of more brave kind of interaction, but to a sense that it was enjoyable. So in a book of Karen Collins, Playing with Sound, in this game and music going on together, the player can also be a spectator. We are spectating the screens of our game, and also an interactor at the same time. And this shares the interactivity of usage in this game and also music. It is surely a mediated music performance, but it is the interactivity of Swagbo's affordance from the avatars, chatting and dancing, that we can make our avatars look as similar as possible to us, or as different as we look from them as possible. That control is something that people come for this event. We can show up with a nice hair, with really fancy clothes, but actually just having a t-shirt in front of our laptop and sharing the same room, sharing the same, what Colin said is listening with music, not listening to music, because it's a whole interactive thing by itself. So maybe that's about it. It's a very preliminary research I did with this platform, but sadly, since the platform is not available to access anymore because of the close of the Flash plugin, I can only access it through videos in YouTube and asking for screenshots from friends. Thank you. I would really be delighted to hear any feedback, and I am contactable through this email right here. Thank you. I'll give it back to Mbak Wiwi.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Rudin. That was very interesting. I mean, interesting and also a current topic to research, to do research. And in fact, to be honest, when I follow your presentation, I feel very old in a sense, because I don't understand. I try to access it through YouTube, but as you said, it's all only recorded, and I haven't really been in the game. So It's very interesting. And even just now, my son, 12 years old, he was interested and he approached me and he asked me, is there a game when you played the video? So, but interesting. But the thing is that something that I want to highlight, I think from what you presented, the interesting thing is there are some interesting points. One is about that the audience enjoy more the swagbo than the performance, yeah. And then also this will also raise a question on the form of the performance of the performing arts of the music performance, which they have to maybe adapt to the media platforms that they use. But we will leave these questions during the discussion. But now I would like to invite the second speaker, Mbak Ira Adriati from Institute of Technology Bandung, who will present analysis of the creative process and aesthetic values of Ninyo Mansani's work during the COVID-19 pandemic through Instagram @sign_bright_Sunny. Please, Mbak Ira, the time is yours, 15 minutes or 20 minutes from now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lily. I will start speaking.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to present our paper and title analysis of the creative process and aesthetic value of Ninyo Mansani's work during the COVID-19 pandemic through Instagram at sign_bright_Sunny. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed various human activities from offline to online in the social field of Indonesian art. It is very difficult for artists to exhibit. Some artists change their activities online using social media such as Instagram. Ninyo Mansani is one of the women artists who continues to work and publish it on Instagram. Ninyo Mansani was born in Sanur, Bali, August 10, 1975. She graduated from the Fine Arts Department of ISI Denpasar. She is interested in painting, photography, poetry, and fashion. Public notes her with the idiolects of works with the main subject female figure. She has an Instagram account at sign_bright_Sunny since 2015. This study aims to analyze the creative process and aesthetic value of Ninyo Mansani's work published in Instagram during March 2020 until July 2021. This is the Ninyo Mansani artwork, women figure with flower. The research methods use Graham Wall's theory, which includes 4 stages, namely preparation, incubation, illumination, and verification. This is a theory about creativity. And another theory, we use art criticism theory from Edwin Feldman, consists of 4 stages, namely description, formal analysis, interpretation, and judgment. For this research, we use 2 methods and combine for in analysis. Okay, this is Graham Wall's theory. First stage is preparation. Then is our previous work with female subject matter. In preparation, some artists will research about many objects and many concepts. And incubation, the second stage of Graham Wall's theory, subconsciously looking for new subject matter and new styles. And third stage is illumination, finding the subject matter of female and male, flower and fruit with a naturalized style. Illumination stage, we can call the insight in creative process for artists. And fourth stage is verification, visualization subject matter of female and male with focus on the face and still life of fruit and flower. Verification stage is how artists make a concept and imagination, and in the Sunny artwork, this means Sunny made her picture. Conclusion, based on the analysis, it can be seen that Ninyo Mansami works very intensively. She chose women and men as her subject matter and other subject matters such as flower and fruit. During pandemic, she made a new subject matter is flower and fruit, and she changed style with the naturalistic style, or we can call still life, and it is unique and if to change style in her painting. Based on the analysis using the art criticism method, it can be seen that Ninyo Mansani's work has a high aesthetic value, which can be seen from the ability to determine concept, subject matter, composition, and color. All of that is creatively elaborate to produce original works. Originality is a very important part to judgment about artwork is bad or no. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Ira. Okay, from the presentation, like what you said, that while the artist Ninyo Mansani appears to be able to maintain her aesthetic values, yeah, artistically speaking, but I was thinking about, or I have a question of whether the Instagram, yeah, because you said that she chooses Instagram as the media platform she chooses, compels her to adapt her presentation. For example, because because she goes through to stages, right? So preparation and then presenting until the presentation. So whether she has anticipation in mind, she thought of her when developing the concept, creating the art form, and also presenting to the audience, the fact that she uses Instagram, whether it may has impact on the art that she produces. So for example, because I was thinking that Instagram has that square scale media of presentation, whether that kind of thing also get into her mind when preparing for the concept and also the artworks. But we will discuss this later during the discussion. It's very interesting. Okay, thank you, Mbak Ira. So maybe we can continue to the next speaker. That is Mas Rudy Wiratama from Visual and Performing Arts Studies, Universitas Gadjah Mada. And today he will talk about political context in Surakartanis court style wayang gedok, relationship between iconography and performance aspects with the image of power in the 19th century Java. Please, Mas Rudy, the time is yours. You can take like 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay. Thank you for the time, Bibi. Today, I will present my slideshow about the political context in Surakarta's court style wayang gedog. This is a part of my doctoral research along with Professor Timbul Haryono and Dr. Wisma Nugraha Kristianto, who also attend this session today. First, I'd like to introduce what is wayang gedog, really. Wayang gedog is a form of traditional puppetry, which is different with the normal wayang puppets or shadow performance that use the repertoires from Mahabharata and Ramayana. Wayang gedog use the Panji theme as the repertoires. Wayang gedog in the era of Mataram Kingdom in 17th century has been developed under the patronage of Sultan Agung and continued by his descendants in the courts of Surakarta, Yogyakarta, Mangkunegaran, and Pakualaman principalities until now. But it's a pity that the life of wayang gedog performances declined after the demise of the Javanese kingdoms in the post-independence era. Then why we chose the context of the court of Surakarta in this research? Because different with Kesultanan Yogyakarta and Pakualaman, which developed wayang gedog tradition only in certain era, it seems that in Surakarta, this form of puppetry has been enjoyed a more sustainable life during the reign of its patrons, since Pakubono II until Pakubono XII. And according to historical records, almost all of the rulers of Surakarta and Mangkunegaran paid greater attention to wayang gedog than the Yogyakartan rulers. And how was Surakarta's court paid more attention to wayang gedog than its Yogyakartan counterparts? We found some intriguing facts during our field research. First of all, we would like to tell about how Surakarta born. The court of Surakarta established in 1745 as an aftermath of culminating Geger Pacino or Chinese rebellion, which brought the Javanese kingdom of Kartosuro to a collapse. And then the new Kraton was built named Surakarta as the reverse of Kartosuro, or as a hope to be Suro or brave or strongly encouraged to bring back the prosperity. But at the same time, the birth of Surakarta surrounded by internal dispute between the nobles of Java, since Mangkubumi and Raden Mas Said rebelled to Kraton due to their own personal motives. And then the partition of Javanese kingdom reflected in the 18th and 19th century of Panji texts, which retold us about the division of Javanese dynasty into 4 kingdoms, Jenggolo, Kediri, Ngurawan, Singosari, which symbolize Kasunanan, Kasultanan, Mangkunegaran, and Pakualaman. And then what is the relationship between the Panji and the court life, so that many nobles and noblemen, kings, and many courtiers of Java has inspired by the Panji theme. Originally, Panji tale recounts about the love adventure of an imaginary East Javanese prince, Panji, with his lover, Chandra Kirana or Sekartaji, and once it was believed to be a product of oral tradition. But after time by time, this romance being Kratonized, formalizing the social structure and role of characters, and expanding the theme to a much ideological and political sense. Vickers has studied the 17th century Panji theme Malat text which reflects the Balinese kingdom's ideology. But the orientation is Majapahit, so it was more retrospective. But in much complex 19th century Javanese context, the reflections provided by the courtly Wayang Gedog would be different, as we could talk about in next slides. First, we will talk about the change of iconography in Panji figures in Wayang Gedog. In the British Museum, there is a vast example of Wayang Gedog collection, which we call as Wayang Gedog Kartosuro, an excellent example of surviving Kartosuro court-style Wayang Gedog. Different with the 17th century Wayang Gampung of Lambangan, which is now stored in Bali. And the Wayang Gedog of Kartosuro era has been appropriated to a contemporary Kraton manner in the context of iconography, as we could see that the figures of Wayang Gedog using a kampuh, a special way to use batik, and then a certain way to wear keris, and also various motifs of trousers, which is called as celana cinde. It is depicting particular batik and keris according to the courtly status of their wearer, which was established in the age of Mataram dynasty. And then in Wayang Gedog, we also know about the main antagonist known as Klono. Klono is a king from the overseas, or Wong Sabrang, and he was considered to be came from Tanjung Puro or Tanjung Pura in Borneo, or from Bali, or maybe in from Atas Angin. Atas Angin is the continental Asia. Thus, in the Javanese Panji world, the other party, or Wong Sabrang, was strongly associated with the non-Javanese aliens. Besides the King Klono or Prabu Klono as its archenemy or the main antagonist, Wayang Gedog also know some figures that shows the unique iconography than the normal Wayang Purwa, which one of them called as Bolo Bugis. In the picture number 1, in the age of Kartosuro, the Bolo Bugis are the knights from or warriors from the overseas are depicted with Javanese attire, but they have a special or unique facial features, which is different with the normal wayang. And then in the second picture, there is Surakarta Wayang Gedog. It wears baju kurung like a warrior from Sulawesi, but still used langkon, and then sumping, and then keris, like Javanese wayang. And then in the picture number 3, in the age of Mangkunegaran, and the figure of Bolo Bugis wear the full Makassarese attire with no traces of Javanese accessories. So there is a development, significant development from time by time in depicting the Sabrang figures. And from the phenomenon, we have a question about, does Sabrang party always considered hostile to Javanese? In Surakarta style Wayang Gedog, we found that there are 3 categories of Sabrang according to their relationship with the Jawa or the Javanese party, which are first, Sabrang, which sets their position as a definitive opponent with Panji and his party. And then the second, a Sabrang party, which made an alliance with Panji and his party. And then the third, Sabrang party, which was actually the part of the Panji's party themselves in disguise. The categorization of those 3 types of Sabrang would give some iconographical consequences, like in the next slide. We found that there are three types of sabrang iconography in Wayang Gedog. Type 1, a definitive opponent using Javanese attire but with coarse or kasar feature of non-Javanese attire, or a coarse figure with odd features or kalawijan. And then the second type, semi-protagonist sabrang, panjis alai, semi-sabrang attire with refined or alus features, like a satrio in Wayang Purwo, but with Balinese attire, Siamese attire. And the type 3, panjis party in disguise as sabrang, with Javanese-like attire with alus feature. Then, based on the phenomenon, what happened in Surakarta in 19th century in the context of international affair. In the early years of Surakarta, the presence of sabrang people in Surakarta was considered as part of VOC's mercenaries, or in the other side, there are also non-Javanese peoples acted as an ally of Kraton. In the ambivalent relationship between Kraton and company, sabrang party plays both antagonistic and protagonist roles, depends on their position. If they are opposing the Javanese ideology, they are become a mungsuh or enemy or real sabrang. But if vice versa, they are considered to be Jawa or behaving like a Javanese. However, it happened in the situation where Kraton was under the suppression and intervention of company, and then Wayang Gedog as the form of escapism or legitimative act congruent with the change of Javanese state from a politically active state to what George has stated as a theater state. But in the much later era in 19th and 20th century, in the middle of simultaneously declined military and political power, Kraton must change their idea of sabrang, men of overseas that are part of a globalizing world's reality. They must consider that the presence of sabrang kings not always in hostile manner or client-patron relationships, but could also fit their aspiration in an equivalent mutual affair, as reflected in Wayang Gedog Lakons. In right, we could see the photo of Chulalongkorn, the king of Thailand or Siam, in Javanese attire, and then Pakubuwono X commemorate the event with making a figure of Chulalongkorn in wayang form with Javanese attire, but with the emblem of white elephant of Siam. And then there is some closing statements, although we are far from final conclusions, that in the context of Surakarta Court Wayang Gedog, the political and ideological factors strongly influence the narratives and also iconography of this Panji theme puppetry, beside its original romance theme. And then Wayang Gedog itself has multiple functions in the life of nobles of Kraton, not only as aesthetical presentation, entertainment, media of reproducing the proper manner in Kraton, or explain some philosophical themes or babar ilmu lebet, but also reflects political ideology about the king and his state. It was proven that the role of sabrang and Jawa in Wayang Gedog dynamically developed according to the change of both global and regional context. And then this change would give a consequence in Wayang Gedog narrative and iconography, but at least, although it is far from a final conclusion, these research findings give us a deeper insight of the significance of Wayang Gedog, which is neglected by the puppetries and wayang audiences themselves in these days. Okay, I think that's all from me. I would like to apologize and matur nuwun. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mas Rudi. That was very interesting. And I think for now, what I can say is that what I find it interesting is that, or fascinating even, yeah, to learn how the shifting meaning, the shifting meaning and a presentation of the other or Wong Sabrang. Yeah, and like what you presented, that is, it's also related to the political ideology of the state and the change. So it can be heavily influenced by how others, yeah, the Wong Sabrang, position themselves in relation to Java as a friend or a foe, and then so not so much maybe perhaps physicality or outward appearances. So we will discuss this later. I think it will be a very interesting discussion later. Okay, thank you, Mas Rudy. Now we can go to our last presenter, Mbak Arinta Agustina, who today is going to talk about ecofeminism diplomacy in the performing arts Arja Seki, Bali. Okay, Mbak Arin, we will ask the co-host to play the recorded video, PPT video, please. And then later on, maybe you want to say something about it, and then before we go to the discussion. Mas siapa nih, mohon would you please play the okay, wait, hold on.
Mbak, kalau lama dari saya aja, nggak apa-apa.
Okay. Ini tadi kayaknya co-hostnya tadi sudah menyatakan mau memutarkan.
Oke. Ya.
Okay. Wait. Or if maybe if you're ready with your video, you can also share screen, Mbak Arinta.
Ya. Saya coba try. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Arinta Agustina, doctoral student from Performing Arts and Fine Arts Study Program, Graduate School, Gadjah Mada University. The paper that I will be presenting is entitled Ecofeminism Diplomacy in Performing Arts of Arja Seki. Background: Arja Seki is form of contemporary Indonesian theater that was initiated by a Balinese female artist named Chokorda Sawitri. Sawitri is an artist who is active in voicing her concern for the condition of women and environment, especially water issues in Bali, through one of her works entitled Campaign for the Water Governor Candidate. In contrast to the art of Arja Bali in general, which is usually performed in groups, Arja Seki is single arja, which is played by only one person, as a monologue version. Researchers are interested in exploring more deeply Chok Sawitri's Arja Seki as a diplomatic medium to convey ecofeminism criticism in artistic way. The question: what is the ecofeminism diplomacy strategy in Arja Seki's performance? Campaign for the Water Governor Candidate by Chok Sawitri. Research purpose: explaining the diplomacy strategy of ecofeminism in Arja Seki's performance, Campaign for the Water Governor Candidate by Chok Sawitri. And then to describe the relationship between the performing arts of RJ and the ecological issues that exist in Bali. Benefit of research. Theoretical become one of critical discourses for knowledge in performing arts about the relationship between performing arts and ecological issues that exist in Bali. Practical become an educational material for the community. Through understanding the handling of the water crisis that occurred in Bali. Ecofeminism theory. Ecofeminism itself exists as part of the contemporary feminist movement that focuses on women's and environmental issues. According to Starhawk's spiritual ecofeminism is explicitly or implicitly a spiritual-based movement. This concept is divided into three categories, namely immanence, interconnected, caring lifestyle. Research methods using using the descriptive qualitative method that describe the use of RJ performance art in conveying environmental criticism in Bali with an ecofeminist perspective. According to Strauss and Corbin, qualitative research is research whose findings are not obtained through statistical procedure or other form of relationship. Qualitative methods can provide more complex detail about phenomena that are difficult to reveal by quantitative methods. Data collection technique. Data collection, I use live observation, interview, study of literature. Data analysis, I process data with data reduction and data presentation. Verification and conclusion, data verify data and draw conclusion. Discussion. RJ Siki's journey in Bali. Of the various arts in Bali, one of them is RJ. This type of art is included in the realm of folk theater. RJ is very complex theater art because it is combination of various types of arts, such as dance, vocals, music, voice, visual, and so on. While a supporter and affirmation of the story using monologue or dialogue. As for RJ Sikit itself, it can be interpreted as a monologue because Siki in Bali is one of or RJ performed by one actor in a monologue manner, in contrast to the RJ show in general, which is played by several people. RJ Siki is an art that is very communicative with the audience. RJ Siki, which was initiated by Josavitri, is the result of the hybridization process of RJ's dance drama with Western theater dramaturgy, especially monologues, making RJ Siki a contemporary theater event that has its own characteristics. RJ Siki performances are made very relaxed, and this is one of characteristics of folk theater. For example, the audience can enjoy the show freely, and during the performance, the audience can also respond to the game spontaneously, so their attitude or speech as reaction on the expression made by the actor. The show is packaged in very fluid and witty way, but still contextual with the current social condition of Balinese society. Therefore, The RJCK performance of the Water Governor candidate campaign as a resistance and criticism of ecology cannot be separated from the cultural context that surround it. In RJCK performance, Chok's air campaign for governor candidate tries to link the relationship between water and woman. In the Hindu tradition in Bali, the guardian of the water source is represented by a female figure. Chok calls her mother Betari Danu. Betari or Dewi Danu is the name of the goddess who rules Lake Batur. Danu in Balinese has the same meaning as the lake. Dewi Danu is a manifestation of goddess of fertility and is believed by the Balinese as the guardian of the water source of the lake. During the show, apart from giving a monologue about how to make rescue movement against groundwater reserves in Bali in a simple way, Chok made a game within a game by asking the audience some quiz questions. The audience who answered correctly received a prize from Chok, who so the atmosphere become very fluid. This RJ show tries to wrap up social criticism delivered with humor. According to Dhananjaya, humor is effective means to convey social criticism because the actor knows that he will not be held accountable. The criticism that appears is not from him, but from society. Humor can also convey sarcasm or criticism that has the nuances of laughter. Humor can also be means of persuasion or facilitate the entry of information or messages to be conveyed as something seriously and formal. The communication process that occurs between the RJCK performance and the audience is part of the process of an aesthetic encounter. Placing the active role of the audience as the giver of meaning means presenting an interpretation process that works through the reception process. The process of perceiving the show takes place starting from the role of the audience at the time of watching. This also explains the aspect of audience awareness, which is one part of communication process that is correlated with the RJCK performance. Conclusion, RJCK performing arts can be an alternative media in conveying artistic message about environmental crisis in Bali to supporting community. RJCK performing arts have an important role as a form of diplomacy in communicating and negotiating about Bali environmental condition with the audience, with the aim that the public has an understanding that awareness the current environmental condition in Bali.
Okay, but Arinta, if you still have something to say, you can also add something, or maybe you will just leave it to the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Mbak Wiwi. I would like to explain from this presentation is how the performing art, how is performing art can be become a media for ecofeminism. For meaning diplomacy is the diplomacy that I mean here is a part of Chok Sawitri ways a strategy to convey her ecofeminism mission. So diplomacy, it's not meaning government to government, not meaning like that, but how the artists to express their message to the audience. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Arinta. Yeah, it's quite intriguing topic, yeah, how diplomacy strategy can in fact use performing arts as a means of delivering their messages, yeah. And even more interesting is that you want to see this, you want to analyze the diplomacy strategy through performing arts by the lens of ecofeminism. Yeah, I think that will also, interesting, also intriguing topic to discuss. Okay, now as we have already got 4 presenters discussing their topics, now I would like to invite for the discussion session, and I will alternate between reading the question and comments if there are in the chat menu, and also inviting audience members to deliver their own questions and comments directly. And let me check if there's already a question from the chat. Okay, is there any question from the audience member? Because there's none in the chat. Maybe you want to deliver your question or comments directly. Otherwise, maybe we can also discuss some of the points that I tried to highlight during the presentation, and maybe the presenters can respond, and then we will also develop a discussion from there. And each of the presenter can ask question. Yeah, each of the presenter can answer to each other. Maybe want to have clarification, or maybe want to as elaboration of some points. Okay, as I already mentioned before, after Mbak Rugun finishing ending her presentation, is the very interesting point, yeah, that the audience, in fact, during the Swagbo, during the what's called that, the online. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, what's called it? In club.
The in-game club.
Yeah, in-game club is that they are more interested in the Swagbo, in the platform, yeah, because they can chat each other, and seems that the music performance is becoming at the backdrop, at the background of the whole event. So what do you think about that? I mean, I was thinking that it can in fact raise implication to the form of musical performance, yeah, because now then they have to change either the format, or maybe they have to think about how to again bring the music at the foreground, yeah. So what do you think, Rugun?
Thank you for the question, but it's really interesting that mostly the performers in the in-game club are usually DJs. So it's usually a playlist, and it's really rare that they give a stage for bands, such as the one of the video I showed before. It was a format of a band. While going to parties, we usually also come for the interaction, not really for the the performers are a part of that made us came to the event, but eventually at the event, it's mostly just socializing.
Okay.
So sorry.
No, I mean it's really not a kind of a musical performance. Yeah, it's more like the event, the party.
Yeah, it's more to the event rather than focusing on the performance. But although some performance were highly awaited, such as the Rabu, the full band, they haven't been performing for a quite long time, for maybe 1 or 2 years. And there was also this electronic music performer from Papua. His name is Asep Nayak. People also came for his performance because they're enthusiastic with his very unique music. So it's unique when people say that the interaction is more memorable, but actually there were also the performers also gave the also fished the people to come at the first place, but at the end it was more of socializing. So people who responded to my research were coming because they were familiar with ENF festivals before. They were friends with performers, and also maybe they were fond of a certain performer's music, but at the end they enjoyed the game. But yeah, it's a whole process. First they came for the music, for the supporting the event, but at the end it's more of the interaction.
Yeah, great. Okay, before I continue, if there is presenter want to ask Mbak Rugun, or even the audience want to deliver question, please, I invite you for further question. Otherwise, just a little bit, Mbak Rugun, what I take note here is the question, what is interesting for me is that the question of how far the game player can in fact interact, or really like interact. In fact, do you interact to other game players that you don't know, or in fact you already have a date, or have a you have a say with friends, let's come to this club and then we can interact there, or how? And then also how the technicality of the game in fact limits that kind of interactivity.
So first was how far the game gives this interaction, but also at the end limits it, right?
Yes.
Okay. First, coming to the event, I shared the event to friends, and then we all made plans to come to the same event. So we had to make our avatars first. So we cannot just hop in and join the party. We have to make our avatars. We have to log in. There's a preparation of getting into the party. So some of them were done a few days before the event, because the organizer were promoting the way to log into this festival wasn't just to hop on the day, but to get ready and to be familiar with the platform itself.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was a lot of interactions before this event was going on, and the interaction happened outside the game to get into the game. That was one. But interactions within the game was more in the chat section, the chat bubbles in each room. So each chat bubble can be seen by everyone in the room, but we can also give personal messages to people. So the Swakbo, the hacked version, but first the Habbo Hotel was familiar with music performance. They had during the early 2000s, they had Akon or Britney Spears performing, but people actually never know it was really Britney Spears or really Akon, the rapper, who was there. So people was just interacting with this avatar called Britney Spears, or this avatar called Akon, who were performing also music on that platform. Maybe the same also with the in-game club in Swakbo, that I can also be anyone else I want and pretend to be someone. And maybe there's also this unlimited access of being anyone I want, but also maybe that limits also other people to interact with that person, because we don't know who that is. But the game is actually very limited. Everyone is in the same size. The small people, they look the same age. It's just the different colors of clothes, different the different skin tone and such. But maybe how it limits the interactions is something negotiable that finally we accept. But that's an interesting question. I might dig deeper with the subject afterward.
Yeah. So eventually, even if you say that, even if they say that it's you can be anyone, but still the choices are limited. Yeah. Even to make the avatar is also like depends on what are provided there, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
limited to what is afforded in the game.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, Ruben, we'll just hold on to your presentation, and then maybe we go back to your presentation. But I still want to invite audiences or even the presenters to ask questions, yeah, to each other, to to build up the discussion. Yeah, I realized that the topics are quite varied, yeah, but maybe there are some interesting points that you get, during the presentation. So you can ask the presenter to elaborate or maybe clarify the points. Please, if anyone want to say something.
Okay. I'd like to ask Mbak Arinta Agustina if I may.
Yes, please.
Yes. It was very interesting. The topics about Arja Siki by Chok Sawitri. As far as I know, that Chok Sawitri, beside she was being an artist, also the social activist, and also she has some privileges in the Balinese society, since her first name was Chok. It came from the Chokorde, or yeah, like that, which indicates her origin from the Kshatriya caste. But I'd like to know what is the reaction of a Balinese society about her works. That many of her works, as far as I know, has requestion mempertanyakan kembali about the patriarchal Balinese society. In fact, she is a woman from Kshatriya caste, but in the other side, she was a double minority. First, she is a woman, which who considered as the second class Balinese citizen, and then the second, she organizes the performance that considered by Balinese as melanggar pakem. Yes, very odd and very strange performance for the traditional Balinese. I would like to know what is the reaction of the Balinese themselves in corresponding the works of Chok Sawitri, and what is the impact of her works in the contemporary Balinese society nowadays. Thank you.
Can I answer directly, Mbak Wiwi?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mas Rudy. Sorry, because in my head, I would like to say something very much, but my language, so my English not very good. So, okay. What is Chok Sawitri do? Because have to respond from her society, especially from Balinese society, Balinese society, society, ya, gitu deh. Pro and contra, of course. Interesting because Chok from Pura family, Pura apa sih namanya? Privilege from Satria Brahma family.
Yeah. Royal family.
Royal family. Thank you, Mas Rudy. From royal family. So she find a way to announcer her or to expression her knowledge or opinion with art, especially performing art or book. She write novel. Yeah. That's the way she can express or to criticism or to against her resistance to royal family or adat istiadat or not culture Bali. So especially campaign for water governor candidate, this is so sarcastic performing art, because in Bali it's too hard to become leaders, or governor. It's very impossible. But Cho made it in performing art. She campaigned for governor water candidate. Why water? Yeah? Because water in Hindu belief is source of life. And who is a guardian for source of life? Is woman. From research, she find the ancient religion from Batur society is agama perempuan sebutannya apa ya? Women religion. It is very broke the rule from Bali culture, because Bali very patriarchy. So this is my answer. How to impact for contemporary theater. So in Indonesia, very have pengaruh apa ya?
Influence
in theater, contemporary theater. Especially to combine between tradisi theater with Western theater. Biasanya, usually dramawan maksudnya pekerja teater ya. Dramawan in Indonesia, they have two gap tradition and modern. When we talk about modern theater, we talk Western theater. And we talk tradition theater, we talk about Indonesian theater. So, meaning Indonesian theater is second class. But Cho can bring it and blend it together and present that her works, hybridization theater from Arja and Western theater, become Arja Siki and present to Indonesian contemporary theater. And diakui apa Mbak?
Accepted or?
Yeah, accepted oleh by international society, not just Indonesia but international society as Indonesian contemporary theater. And yeah, that's all I can explain. I'm sorry. Thank you.
No, it's good. Yeah, it's very interesting. So, Mas Rudy, do you think you still have some points that you want Mbak Arinta to elaborate, or you think it's, you got the point that as an answer of your question?
Yes, I got some points from the Mbak Arinta's statement. It was very interesting because in my mind that the Balinese society have adapted fully in the Hinduism that is very patriarchy. But in fact, it was very interesting that Balinese, same as the Javanese, has their own feminine religion. Javanese also know about Nyai Roro Kidul and then Dewi Sri and other figures that are feminine, but they represent the natural powers.
Yeah, can I edit my
Okay.
explain? Chok Sawitri believe memuja ya, memuja
Worship.
worship Durga.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Because of course her still respect to Siva, but si apa yang diunggulkan priority is Durga. So Durga the goddess who is create life in Hindu Keling, Buddha Keling, sorry, is Buddha Keling.
Oh, Buddha Keling. Yeah.
Buddha Keling. Yeah. Durga Betari Danu is represented by, from Durga. Jadi Durga, Betari Danu, Dewi Sri, blah blah blah, is figure from Durga. Every single goddess, woman, goddess is from Durga. That's Chok Sawitri believe it.
Okay, interesting. And I just want to go back to some of the questions that raised by Mas Rudy about how people accept Chok Sawitri's art performance, like the Art Jessica. Is there any protest? Is there any objection against Chok's Art Jessica, the Gubernur Air? Is there any?
It's very funny because this is a performance. So diplomacy performance using humor with fluid and witty performance. Yeah? So the audience accept statement. The audience accept it. There's no controversy about that. But karya what Chok Sawitri works have a big controversy is Janda Jirah.
It's another piece of work, ya?
Yeah, Janda Jirah yang paling banyak kontroversinya gitu. Kalau if campaign Governor Water this not have a controversy because the performance mengajak itu
invite people to
invite audience to realize about our crisis, about the water crisis in Bali. Chok says simpanan air, water safely in Bali still 30% left. So it's very dangerous. So very critical situation. So Chok think we should do something to save the water.
Yeah. Yeah, so contextually it has relevance. Yeah, so people not really object against Chok's Gubernur Air performance. Okay, thank you. Maybe we can continue to other speakers, other presenters want to ask to. Yeah, silakan, Mbak. Okay, please, Mbak Ari.
I want to ask Ms. Arinta about aesthetic in the performance. Yeah, can you describe the aesthetic component of the performance? Because I look Chok Savitri use costume and with speak with unique or comedy. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Ira. In artistic way, meaning because performing art is something art, so we can talk about artistic. In a Savitri way is she used Balinese costume. Apa yang merujuk ini ikon to merujuk tokoh ya, karakter Limbur karakter. Limbur the name character Limbur is character who is very funny in Arja. So this character fluid, have no genders, really. What is genders? Limbur can be a woman or man or woman. Yeah. So beside that, Chok using use three languages to explain the message with monologue, the function, tujuannya, purpose to want to attract the audience to get a comical gesture and making a joke, comical or joke or a witty situation. Another ways Chok make gegambuh apa ya? Bukan gegambuh, gegurit is songs, traditional songs to express her monologue. I think that's Chok ways to strategy to make artistic diplomation in her performance. That's all.
So, Ira, did that answer a question?
Thank you. It is an interesting performance, and when a woman on the stage and change in Bali patriarchy. Yeah, I think. Thank you.
Yes. Okay,
thank you, Ira. I'm so sorry.
Yes, thank you. And is there any question from the audience member here? Okay. Let me check. There's a question in the chat room and the chat menu from Pak Wisma Nugraha. I want to ask to Ms. Ira, what is the focus or specification of Ni Nyoman Sani's art? Why did she choose to change the object of artistic expression on flowers, etc.? Does the choice not affect the position of her identity in the area of her art style? Pak Wisma, Mbak Ira will answer this, but later Pak Wisma can also add, a question or if he needs more elaboration. Please, Mbak Ira.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wisma. I think focus subject matter of Nino Mansani and her women and women with fashionable and very pretty and she combined with flower. But in the pandemic, I think she need change visualization about art, and she changed subject matter because she wants make another situation or another style, and she said if he want to back to past when she used flower and for subject matter. And I think it is interesting because when women artists or artists stable and on top of actualization with one subject matter like a woman, and she brave to change subject matter to back again in past, and the response of her follower is positive, and I think when situation crowded and in pandemic and some people hopeless, Sunny chose something object or subject matter like flower or fruit can impact people to release the problem and make audience happy with her subject matter. I think thank you.
Maybe there's still the last question that you may like to respond. Does the choice not affect the position of her identity in the area of her style? Yeah, because she changed, right? She changes she chooses to change the object of artistic expression. But will that not influence or affect her identity as a artist? As before he already known to people.
I think Sunny has many art collector and followers, and they change her choice for subject matter is not make the negative for response, is make fresh for their author have another style for Sunny.
Okay, thank you. Pak Wisma, do you still have more question or comments, please?
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And is there any other questions, please, from the audience or from the presenter to each other? Okay, well, waiting for that, maybe I want to continue to Pak Wisma's question. Like what I mentioned before, after I follow your presentation, my question is that whether in fact Sunny has anticipation in mind when developing the concept, creating the art form, and finally presenting to the audience, by the fact that she uses Instagram. So whether the media platform in fact influence or has an impact on the form or on the visualization that she expressed. Because what came to my mind is that the Instagram has that square, right? Square size, visualization medium. So does it have impact on her works?
It's different
Okay.
media. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Bu Wiwik. Yeah, even Instagram is in the small format, but we can still appreciate the aesthetic value of the work. Art components such as object, color, composition, and creativity in visualizing Sunny artworks, and it can be seen more detail when we enlarge it in laptop, and when we use criticizing method from Bergman, we can still look the aesthetic value of Sunny artworks, and I think Instagram is important for artists to publish their artwork because no exhibition offline, and Instagram is the small that appreciator can look artwork detail with enlarge the picture on laptop. I think. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, later on I want to check on, because I wonder if Sunny then make what you call it, adjustment, like fit the pictures, right? Usually if we want to upload photograph on the Instagram, then we have to fit with the medium. So later on, we can also check. Pak Wisma, do you still have a comment or question?
As I think that's something like a specializations and part of the commodification. So I think it must be some another positions. And yeah, of course, because of the commodification and specializations, there is some effect to for the existence of the artist.
Yeah. And also I was thinking about the audience, whether Sunny also thinking about the target audience, like Instagram maybe are
Different
they
audience.
Yeah, different audience. What she thinks about this? Did you know? I mean, like whether Sunny already also think about the different audience for the Instagram. Bu Ira?
Okay, I think Sunny made Instagram for describes about artwork, her life, and many her art collector join his Instagram, and I think not spirit antara follower in Instagram and her art collector. Yeah, her collector, and in the she posts many collector and artwork with her collector, and this is made make people or new follower or old collector can look and join in this Instagram.
Yeah, new fans, yeah. Addition to the regular fans. Okay, thank you. Mbak Rugun, do you have question to other presenter? If you want to comment on or question now. Okay.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Pak Wisma, do you still have something to say or comment on?
Just little question to Miss Sirait, yeah.
Yes.
is there any monetizations in the game? And second question, what kind of powers in the play of the game? I mean, media powers. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Wisma. For the first question, monetization, it's not very much. It was the first event was open for open donation. If I'm not mistaken, it was given for the organizers, or it was a voluntarily act of sharing into several food networks in Yogyakarta during the early pandemics. So it was not a monetization for giving more credit to the performances or the organizers, but it was more of a voluntarily act. And also the second one, it wasn't also it was limited with a really cheap ticket price just to have someone's commitment to join the event. It was only 20,000 rupiah for the ticket, if I'm not mistaken. So there wasn't a monetization, since usually the Indonesia Net Audio Festival is not monetized. They usually get support. The last offline event was supported by the Japan Foundation. So they promote such free access to music, free access to information, that it would be the other way around to monetize their event. With power in the game, does it mean the power of the performances or the power given through the game?
The power of the something like media power through the game. For example, the position of Japan Foundation and so on.
Yeah.
And also the power of maybe Google or YouTube and so on.
Okay.
How they intervene the game.
Yeah. The game highly relies on the power from the server in Finland, from the other collective in Finland. So if there was any issue, there was an issue with the game that it cannot contain more than 200 people, that it was a weakness rather than a power to this game. But the power of the Indonesian Net Audio Festival or the Net Audio Union is that they are powerful with unionizing a lot of music labels, so that the power is that they have is a support with each other, and that togetherness. Maybe that's where the power is from. Thank you, Pak Wisma.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and is there any additional rule of the game, like set by the organizer, or how to control it, or just use the Swagbo rules?
There weren't any specific rules. It's just that if you want to make an event, you have to let the people in Finland know. So if there was any issue, they would help, because there were a lot of Indonesian not a lot. There were several other more Indonesian friends who used this platform as an event. There were collectives in Bandung and some other collectives in Jogja that used this platform. There was a way was to communicate to the developers back in Finland, and also to from the networks from the other collectives such as INF, to the ones in Bandung, to support each other and let the things know on what to do and such.
So that's why the game player or the audience need to familiarize themselves before the event. Yeah, like what you said, that there are some things that they have to do before the events. Maybe it's also like the way to familiarize themselves with the game.
Yes, so as the organizers, they have to familiarize with the space they are working with.
Okay, yeah, okay, thank you, Mbak Rukun.
Yeah,
Okay, is there any question? If not, I still have one question for Pak Mas Rudi. Yeah, is the Wayang Gedok still performed until now? And if so, because you're talking about the shifting of meaning of others, of the Sabrang, Wong Sabrang, right? By times and under different regimes. And then I was thinking, if it is still performed until now, does it have, now the regime now also have influence on how they make meaning of the Wong Sabrang, Pak Rudi?
Okay, thank you for the question. Wayang Gedok are now rarely performed in our society. If there is any performance of Wayang Gedok in our society, it is considered as like an exhibition only. It's not a regular perform, but only accidental, and then or occasional. And then maybe since our society has been attached with the imagery of Mahabharata, the Pandawa and Kurawa, then Panji, and then the ideas about how to recognize and making a peace and alliance with Sabrang in Panji way, it's rather neglected. As far as we know, the narration of Mahabharata or Bharatayuddha, which needs one party to be absolutely defeated, like Kurawa or Rahwana, is still relevant in our politics nowadays. So if in some electoral events, such as general elections or pemilu, pemilihan umum, in almost every pemilu, the Javanese usually considered one party as the representation of Pandowo, and then the other as the representation of Kurawa. Then a party as Panji and the other party as Klono. Because in the Wayang Gedok, in the end of the day or in the end of the performance, there is no absolute defeat or absolute victory. Both of parties are maybe competing one and another, but in the end of story, they reach resolution together. Back to the harmony. But in Mahabharata or Ramayana, which are imported from India, it is different. In the end of the story, we need a total annihilation of our enemy on the antagonist side to regain the harmony of the world or the earth. So it is quite interesting because even though that Panji narratives came from the local Indonesian belief itself, but in the reality, the Indonesians, mainly the Javanese, who are concerned with the Wayang stories, are still having the paradigm of Bharatayuddha or Pandawa Kurawa. And it is why Wayang Gedok is now unpopular. Because because the people still attached to the Mahabharata paradigm, and then the Wayang Gedok itself considered as an exclusive performance, only performed in Kraton, in the courts, and the dalangs or the puppeteers themselves are thinking Wayang Gedok is not economically worth it. Ora iso nggo golek sandang pangan, because the society has Mahabharata more deeply in their heart and their mind.
So are you saying that with the Wong Sabrang is not a matter of duality, like a bad and good, but it's
Yeah.
something unknown, something like unknown or other is unknown, and then so that's why there's
Yeah.
shifting way of knowing who is the unknown. Is that what you're saying,
Yes.
Pa?
Yes. In the 1700s, in the early era of Javanese Kraton, Yogyakarta and Surakarta, the presence of Wong Sabrang themselves are considered as, an alien entity which was uncivilized and then coarse, rude, and then brutal. But during the time, we have to realize that the assumptions about the Sabrang or non-Javanese entities are encouraged by the lack of knowledge about the people outside Java. But in the later times, in the age of Ronggowarsito and then age of Pakubono the IX, the Sabrang, the phenomenology of Sabrang and Jawa has changed. Like in the Panji Jayeng Tilam, literary work of Ronggowarsito, which is Wayang Gedhog Lakon, Panji could come to Sumatra, to Jambi, and then marries the princess of Jambi, become the son-in-law of a Sumatran king, and then between Sumatra and Javanese kingdoms reconnect in the marriage, and they communicate in an equivalent relationships. And it is not remain the same with the ideas of Javanocentrism in 1700s that sees that the Java is the axis of the world, and the non-Java entities are the subordinate of Java. So it is not remain the same along the time. So it is
Interesting. Even so, I was thinking if it is performed during that, when we're talking about Sara, then it's also can be more interesting, right? I mean, like how the way portray or how make meaning of the Sabrang or Sabrang, and then putting into political ideology of Sara, then it will be interesting. Yeah. Maybe Pak Wisma, you want to say something? I kind of see that you raise hand, please.
Yes. Okay, to Mas Rudy, what's the reason that you said that the Forsten London is similar with the 4 Kratons in the Panji story?
Okay. First, honestly, I am inspired by Pak Wisma's paper about Pakubono the Fourth and Panji, and that symbolize the life inside the Kraton of Surakarta, like in the Kraton of Jenggolo, with the problem of the kingdom's division through the Giyanti Treaty and then the Solotiga Treaty and so on. And in the other hands, there are some babats written by the noblemen of Java, such as Babat Kemalon, written by Mangkunegoro I himself. He is still considered as the descendant or tedak turun of Panji himself. So conceptually, the Javanese kings and noblemen are still considered themselves as the direct descendant of Panji. And then the event of the division of 4 kingdoms in Java, 2 main kingdoms and 2 principalities, has been viewed by some noblemen and kings like a parallel event or reflections of the events in Panji. First, there is only the kingdom of Jenggolo during the reign of Prabu Resi Jetayu or Lebu Subroto, and then Prabu Resi Jetayu divide them to 4. Jenggolo, Kediri, Ngurawan, Singosari, with the message that you all of my descendants should be in peace or rukun. If you don't maintain the peace in the four kingdoms, then the catastrophe will come in many forms, such as natural disasters or even some unfortunate events like the attack of Klono and etc. etc. So the main theme of Panji literature in the Vorstenlanden era is about to maintain the peace in the four kingdoms, even though that it is almost impossible to reunite the four kingdoms to be one single kingdom in Java. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nasruddin.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Both are the experts, yeah, in this historic and also those wayang cerita, yeah. Okay, is there any other last comment or question, because it's already like 15:25? If you like to have a comment or question. Okay. Otherwise, here I've already been reminded by the host that, you know, we are going to wrap up the panel, and then later we have to take pictures first. But okay, before then, in fact, I will not draw any conclusion from the sessions, because we have covered a wide range of topics in performing and visual art studies. Yeah, from the various media platforms now used by artists and audiences, yeah, like the Swagbo and then Instagram used by artists, and then also from that kind of various media platforms to political aspects of performing arts that extend beyond the history and context of the 19th to the 20th century. Like from Wayang Gedok, yeah, with this political aspect of deciding or identifying others or Wong Sabrang, to the use of performing arts as the diplomacy strategy for Tok Sawitri. So because this is a very various, yeah, I mean, although those four, if I can say that two are discussing about the media platforms, new media platforms, and then the two are discussing about the use of performing arts as a or the political aspect in the performing arts. So I hope that today we learn and discuss what we learned and discussed during the session will provide us with a better understanding of how dynamic performing and visual art studies are today. So, you know, from the change of the media platform, then we have to think about the idea or what's called it, the art itself, yeah, because the media platforms are changed or are different. Then what is the art itself, and then also from the political aspect of the performing arts. So thank you, and before we end this, let's have a photo session together, please. If you don't mind, please, everybody here, presenters and then also audiences, would you please kindly turn off your camera? Okay, and then Mas host, are you going to take the picture or who? Please give us, okay, maybe I'll take this. Okay, on 3, 2, 1, okay. Again, once more. Okay, thank you. So please keep yourself safe and healthy, and until we meet again, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Mbak Ira, Mbak
Oh yeah. You have your contact numbers or emails